Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Sunday, July 26th online service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. Our mission is to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. I am Jennifer Green, the lead support person for this service. The service's centerpiece will feature an interview by our Reverend Florence with Dr. Ming Kuo. Dr. Kuo directs the Landscape and Human Health Laboratory at the University of Illinois here in Champaign-Urbana. And she studies how nature, trees, flowers, rivers, green spaces, and more, affects multiple dimensions of healthy human functioning, both biophysical and socio-emotional, and from individual vitality to healthy communities. Dr. Kuo also recently gave an invited presentation at the 2020 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, sharing her research on how cities make us mad, bad, and sad, and how we can turn this around. Her presentation this morning includes snippets of her adventures with and observations of world leaders at Davos. Technical wizardry for this service has been provided by Chris Hanower. I extend my sincere thanks to Chris and to Jim Hannum and Sam Bashirs, who have also contributed their time and talent to this service. And now I will present our land acknowledgement. Each Sunday, we begin with a land acknowledgement of the indigenous nations of this land. Wherever you are listening, please bring to mind the indigenous peoples of your place. There will be a moment of silence after the acknowledgement. We recognize and acknowledge that we gather here together today on indigenous land, taken through deception, coercion, and violence. We acknowledge the continued displacement and oppression of Native peoples and honor their commitments to survival, identity, and the protection of our world. Thank you. chalice lighting words this morning come from fellow UU Karen Johnston with the title of A Child's Chalice Lighting of Gratitude for the Earth. Not being a child myself, I've made a few modifications. What if when I light the chalice, you hear an invitation to welcome gratitude for the earth? Here are some of the blessings from this planet that I am grateful for. Mother Earth's gifts of dog companions, the never-ending wonders and miracles of nature, the restive spirit of our imaginations. Now with a lit chalice, with this flame of hope, shedding light in your heart, what is on your list of gratitude for the earth?
Among the Endlessness by Laura Foley. Of new spring leaves, maples in their budding greens, I sit on copper leaves of ash and oak revealed just now from winter's ice, as fiddleheads and maidenhair raise green fronds to renewed life. My dog whimpers to climb another hill, or several, and we do, moving through the endlessness of a spring day, taken in through every pore. The sudden chill of clouds wafted by a breeze over us, strolling through pastures, wet with rain, redolent with dung, the slow vertiginous dip into shadowed hemlock groves, matted evergreen needles cushioning our feet, one with the forest around us, the endlessness of budding leaves and liquid sounds of thrush. And now please join in singing hymn number 27, I Am That Great and Fiery Force.
And now for Community Matters and our shared offering. Each month, we share half of our Sunday offering with an organization in alignment with our values. This month, our shared offering is the Wesley Food Pantry, which aims to relieve food insecurity one family at a time. Also, we now have a way to give quickly and easily by text and credit card, and your donation today will be shared between UUCUC and the Wesley Food Pantry. You can also still donate online or send a check after the service. The offering will now be received.
Good morning. I'm Sherry Boland, the Director of Congregational Engagement here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. Each Sunday morning, we offer members of our community, friends and members of our community, the opportunity to share their joys and sorrows or concerns. We do this so that our whole community can join in celebrating the joyous times in people's lives, and so that we can support people through those challenging times. I have a number of joys and sorrows or concerns this morning, and I'll begin with something from Gail Cohen. She writes, sending continuing prayers to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May she face her current cancer battle as courageously as she has in the past, knowing how many people are holding her in their hearts. I'll join you in that prayer, Gail. Thank you for reminding us. And now a joy and a concern from Omita Sandarangati and Marilyn Ryan. First, a joy. Umita's parents made it safely back from India to Connecticut on July 17 on a plane coming to the US to repatriate Indian citizens. Their original return flight was scheduled for April 24. And a concern. Umita's father is now in the hospital with pneumonia, but has tested negative for COVID. Please keep him and Umita's mom in your thoughts and prayers. We will indeed do that, Umita and Marilyn, and do keep us posted on your parents' condition. And now a deep sorrow and a great joy from Tom Boland. First, a deep sorrow. An arsonist firebombed the Maricopa County, Arizona Democratic Party office in Phoenix 2 days ago. Although everything was lost, no one was injured, and they still have their resolve to carry on. This attack happened the day after a Confederate monument was removed from the state capitol, and the day before the Maricopa County Democratic Party convention. And now a joy from Tom. Great joy and deep gratitude to those who have the courage to take a stand and speak truth to power in the face of the current outright assault on our democracy. I'm getting my leaf blower charged up in case I need to stand in support of the wall of moms. Thank you, Tom. If anybody needs an explanation of the leaf blower reference, email me at membership@uucuc.org and I'll fill you in. If you have a joy or sorrow that you would like for me to read during next Sunday's service, please send it to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org, and please send it to arrive by 5 p.m. on Friday. Then I'll read it during next Sunday's service, and then it will appear in the following week's e-news, which is our weekly newsletter. Many blessings to all as we all share and deal with our deep joys and our deep sorrows. And now please join me in a moment of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Many blessings.
I'm Florence Caplow. I'm going to be the invisible interviewer here. And we decided that this would be the nicest way to do this. And so we're going to hear about your experience at the World Economic Forum at Davos earlier this year. So why don't we start with, tell us what is the World Economic Forum and why were you invited, do you think, to be a presenter?
Well, first, thanks, and thanks for having me. And I'm really, I'm actually kind of delighted to talk about this because I found it a really valuable experience. I was invited. Well, wait, the World Economic Forum is a nonprofit organization that makes public and private partnerships to make the world a better place. And the private partnerships they have the top 1,000 corporations in the world. Those are their kind of chief members. And every year they have an annual meeting where heads of state and these people who run the top corporations in the world all go to Davos. They descend via their many airplanes into Switzerland and all show up at this one little mountain village and talk about how things could be better and have a lot of cocktails. So that's what the event is. And I was invited. Invited to speak on the state, sort of the big picture on mental health and the relationship between that and urbanization and also greening. So
any sense of how much, like, somebody who wasn't a presenter was paying in order to be there?
I remember looking it up. I think a ticket is like $70,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So they didn't. WEF didn't pay for my way. They said, well, we're we're covering your registration, and I thought, well, geez, that's not, that doesn't sound like such a great deal. And then I realized, oh,
pretty good deal. So what specifically were you invited to speak about?
I gave the global health of what was it? The big picture in mental health. So just talking about the fact that we're an urbanizing globe and very rapidly urbanizing, and that as we have been urbanizing, we've been seeing these just really kind of disturbing increases in mental health issues. And that, so you've got this one trend, which is urbanization, which is very big and probably unstoppable. And then you have another trend, which is the increase in burden due to mental health. And they seem to be tied together, but in fact, there's indications that they don't have to go together, that we can have our cities and not go crazy and depressed and angry and violent at the same time. And so I just presented the work on how greening affects all of those outcomes for the better thing, parks, green roofs, green walls, encouraging people to have window planters. So any element. One of the interesting things about this work is we've discovered almost the tiniest doses you can imagine have amazingly detectable systematic effects. So 5 minutes of smelling roses, I can see your parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous activation profile just switch. Or playing with soil for 5 minutes, it changes your serotonin profile, which is an important mood and alertness factor. So even tiny doses of nature make a difference. And unfortunately, or whether it's fortunate or not, nature seems to be kind of like a water soluble vitamin, in that we have to have it all the time. We can't just go to Yosemite at the end of the year and then have done with it. So we really need daily, if possible, contact with nature. And so sort of stuffing it in every crevice in the urban infrastructure would be my recommendation, I guess. They actually showed slides of, so Chicago from satellite imagery, or Sao Paulo, or Mexico City, anywhere, pretty much anywhere you go on Earth, you can see the difference between poor and rich neighborhoods just by the tree canopy. It's a pretty perfect match, and it's very obvious. So, and previously that was just sort of like, well, yeah, plants are nice, and having tree canopy is nice, but that's not it was thought that was just sort of, aesthetic. Oh, well, so it's fine that only, the really rich people have very green neighborhoods, because it's sort of like, well, not everyone gets to have dessert. So if only the wealthy get to have dessert, who cares? It's not like the end of the world. But it turns out that a tremendous body of research suggests that our contact with nature is functional, that we are smarter, better, kinder, more effective people when we have regular access to nature.
So if someone in the congregation was struggling right now, and there certainly are people, that are having a rough time with everything that's going on in our world and with the pandemic, what would be your prescription for them, for their water-soluble vitamins?
Well, I mean, if you live in Urbana and you can either live in or can get to the sort of tree-lined streets, then just taking walks in tree-lined streets. If you have a private place to garden, that can be a really, again, working with soil. We know chemically what is going on when you work with soil and how that affects your serotonin. What else? I think, I guess I would say just try to get as much contact with nature that you feel makes a difference. So one of the things about another aspect of this research is the effects are large and detectable for the people who have them. So if you try something and it doesn't, you feel like, oh, I didn't get anything out of that, then don't do it, But if you notice, wow, I feel genuinely refreshed, or I feel reset, I feel knit together, those kinds of things. If you just, even when you go into some space and you feel like, my shoulders have dropped from my ears, I'm breathing more easily, then that's sort of that's a good indicator that this is having the effect that it's.
So are you saying some people don't seem to benefit, or most people benefit?
Most people benefit. I would say it's approximately the same systematicity as chocolate. I think not every human being likes chocolate, but it's a pretty consistent finding. I would say the nature work seems to be on that order.
That's very helpful. So what were some of your most vivid experiences or kind of takeaways from being at Davos, about the actual experience of being there?
Yes. So sorry. So my point there is actually that I had started with a pretty cynical point of view, which is that, this is going to be duchesses and CEOs having cocktails and feeling tremendously smug about being, among the elite of the world, the shapers of the world, and not actually doing anything. And I didn't really have any. That didn't sound like something worth sacrificing my first week of class for. But I got there and I realized, no, it's actually, there's no question that that's part of what's going on. Definitely there's smug cocktails with duchesses. But in addition, there are a tremendous number of NGOs who are there talking to people, collaborating, making connections across the world, learning from each other. So that's really exciting. And then there were a number of things that made me feel really hopeful coming out of it. And I don't want to sound Pollyannish, because it was by no means, heaven. But I saw a number of things that really made me feel like, oh, this is for real. So let me share a few of those. One is just in terms of what the world leaders were talking about, climate change was front and center. I mean, it's just us. It's just the US that's in this kind of intense state of denial, where climate change is so intensely politicized. The rest of the world, they know it's real, they know it's a big problem, and they're taking it seriously. And so it was very nice to, sort of leave the United States bubble and understand, okay, as a scientist, it's just been really kind of surreal and painful. I don't even know how to quite describe what it's like. It's like you're in this fever dream, right? Because you know the science, and you know the scale of the issue, and then you see what's going on in our society, and you're just like, no one is taking this seriously. What's going to happen? And so it was really nice to just see, okay, the rest of the world is taking this seriously. They all know. And as key as America is, our role, we're not everyone. So that was reassuring. Another thing that was reassuring is that I realized I was sort of looking at all these CEOs marching about, learning about social equity or environmental problems. And I thought, well, what is going on? Is this just some kind of smoke screen? Are they greenwashing? And I realized that if you become one of the top 1,000 corporations in the world, you're probably at the top of your industry, right? So what is there to do after you've done that? I am the king of vacuum cleaners, or I am the king of spectrometers, or whatever it is. You've reached the top of your profession, and now you have all this drive and all this competitiveness. And I think it's actually a pretty natural thing for people to say, well, now that I have achieved this level, what can I do? And I think they're very interested in benchmarks. One of the interesting things is they are engaged in an effort to create benchmarks for companies in terms of sort of social responsibility. And they're really interested in making sure this is not a system people can just game. So that was kind of nice to see. A couple other things. One is in addition to creating the benchmarks, the venture capitalists are sort of, we're talking at the meeting, and the big buzz in the financial world and among venture capitalists is the people with lots of money are wanting to get out of fossil fuels, because everyone understands that somewhere down the pike, fossil fuel stocks are not going to be worth anything. You're not going to be able to get rid of them. And everyone wants to drop fossil fuels before that happens. And the more they see each other dropping fossil fuels, the sooner that date actually comes. And so everyone is sort of scrambling to get out of fossil fuel investments, which is kind of funny and a way in which capitalism is working toward our benefit, right? Because it doesn't have to do with the actual value of fossil fuel investments. It has to do with the perceived value of fossil fuel investments to other people. So that was kind of a neat thing to see. I feel I should temper my comments though. So just to give you a couple of examples of the ways in which this still is capitalism with a conscience. One of the big topics at the meeting was, how do we make global supply chains more sustainable? And I thought, well, there's kind of a built-in assumption there. And they didn't even really recognize it, So maybe we shouldn't have so many global supply chains. That was definitely not one of the questions they were considering. Or similarly, questions about the big banks. We're finding that big banks are, they're kind of not good actors in many ways. And how can we make that better? It's like, well, maybe it's partly big banks are going to behave that way because they are big banks, So there's definitely a certain amount of assuming that things have to be the way they are. But
so I have to ask you, because we did describe this as, I think the title was Country Mouse Meets the Queen. Can you tell us about meeting the Queen of Belgium?
Sure. This is kind of funny. So I give my talk. I actually gave 3 talks, but the first time I gave a talk, it's very crowded. A lot of people show up. People are standing in the back. And then this tremendously elegant woman, older woman, comes and someone finds her a chair. And there are no chairs at my venue. Everyone is sitting on these sort of pods or they're standing. And I was like, I wonder she must have some kind of back injury or something. And so they provided her a chair. So I give the talk, and afterwards I'm answering questions to people, and this woman speaks to me, and she leans over and she says, "I'm Mathilde, the Queen of Belgium." And I really, I was so flabbergasted. I thought, what? And she says, may I have a private audience with you later? And I was so completely flummoxed. I didn't say anything because I thought, well, I have things I'm supposed to do that I can't get out of. I'm the presenter or whatever. And I don't know when those are exactly. I don't remember at this moment. So I don't know when I'm available. And I'm not going to ask you to contact me, right? But I don't know how to contact you. So I was just completely like deer in the headlights. And then someone started talking to me from the side, and she wandered off. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've offended royalty. It's fine. I finally figured out, I can talk to her retinue and they can set something up. And so we did in fact have a private audience, and she sort of made me give the talk again to her chief of staff. And then, I don't know, she says she was interested in sharing these ideas with kids and with parents in her country. So that was very neat.
Well, thank you. Those were wonderful stories. And I hope that that glimpse that you had of that world, and the maybe at least small hopes that were part of that glimpse will give everyone a little bit of hope. So thank you so much for sharing. It's really,
my pleasure. It really was wonderful to go to the top of the world, in a sense, and feel like, there are very smart, driven, competitive people who are actually very interested in trying to make the world a better place. So the little ones of us, we are not alone.
This is a poem by David Wagoner titled Lost. Stand still. The trees ahead and the bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger, must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen. It answers. I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, saying, here. No 2 trees are the same to raven. No 2 branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you.
And now, finally, some words to bring this service to a close. Echoing the poets featured in this service, here are some words from Khalil Gibran. Forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair. And some words from the exceptional vision of Mahatma Gandhi. To forget how to dig the earth and to tend the soil is to forget ourselves. And now it's time to extinguish the chalice for this week. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Be well.